What is up, everybody? I've got the old down jacket on because in Tahoe we are going back to winter mode. It snowed a couple inches the other day, maybe half an inch this morning, and it is definitely really cold. It's not getting warm like it normally does at the end of April. Usually we have April showers, but not April snowstorms. But that'll be nice, I suppose, to get some snow or whatever precipitation. Keep some of these streams more alive. And we definitely could always use some more water for the lake because it gets so dry over summer. These are definitely the time periods where I think about leaving the most, because it is pretty miserable having to car camp when it's snowing outside and it's below 30 degrees. I used to think that 40 was my limit, but now it's kind of that 30 degree level. And I suppose it gets quite a bit colder than that actually outside, but keep the windows rolled up, which stinks because I gotta breathe stale air all night, but it's better than freezing and letting any snow, rain, anything come into the car. It's not fun. Luckily, I do have a Gore-Tex Western Mountaineering Sequoia sleeping bag, which is a 10-degree sleeping bag, and it can unzip all the way out, so I can have it mummy style if it's really cold, or make it into like a quilt / blanket if I need to like ventilate, because a 10-degree bag, especially from Western Mountaineering, is probably more like a 0. It is pretty hardcore, and the Gore-Tex does not breathe one bit. So I'm lucky that I have at least that type of gear. And then with the X-Ped sleeping mattress, I have a lot of insulation underneath me, so it makes it manageable. It's still not optimal to be up here, and sometimes I'm really questioning why I am. I suppose I stay because the Uber business is better than other places, and if I was gonna get a real job, I really just don't have any clue of what that could really be. Maybe working in like a hotel, like a janitorial service or something. But I still wouldn't make enough money to get out of the car anyways. So I kind of just choose to ride this Uber train out as long as I can. Probably the time is coming down to when I won't be able to, but that time is not right now. There are a lot of professional level people who have left finance jobs and tech jobs, I suppose, to come into Uber, probably out of necessity more than like a want, but it's still like a fairly viable option, and it gives you the freedom, parentheses, to do what you want, even though you have to be on the app a lot. You kind of always have to be online waiting for those good rides. We used to have some really good deliveries up here, but now it's like 30 plus minute delivery for $8-12. So that's kind of been killed off for this area. So now I just turn off the delivery function of Uber and just focus on the passengers, and that definitely dries up a good portion of the business. But, you know, if you're going to deliver a pizza or a sandwich, Taco Bell, you still have to make some money. And so if you're breaking even And sometimes worse, you're even losing money on these trips. It's impossible to do it. If you lose money, it's impossible to deliver. You have to still make money. I don't think that a lot of the executives and people who run the gig economy realize that normal people, we do have bills to pay. Even if we're homeless and we live on like Skid Row or in the city or wherever, there's still expenses no matter what. I was watching a video about Skid Row earlier today in LA County. All these RVs that are broken down on the side of the streets along businesses. And it really sucks that people who don't have homes, they kind of overtake certain areas with businesses who are just trying to pay their own rent, pay bills, provide a service. And I myself, I wouldn't want to pull up to a business with a homeless encampment around. Then again, like, these people are living better than me in an RV. But the problem is they're just so dirty and trashy. Instead of trying to maintain their little areas, it seems like homeless people, they just throw trash out. They don't clean up their areas. They're not trying to find a toilet. And it's just really rickety setups. And it's too bad because I understand the struggle. But then it's just put some effort in to try to be a part of the society and the community. You know, go outside and try to find decent work, a job, no matter what it is, as long as it's bringing in some income. Clean up your living area, try to better yourself, and try not just isolate within your own little encampment. And I don't know, I don't really know what you do, because the state, at least in California, all the nonprofits are all just fraudulent. They just pocket the money for themselves. They're not giving it to anyone. And you can listen to people on YouTube and they talk about, well, these homeless people are living here, but there's options for them. But in reality, there really isn't. There's no options. If you find yourself living in the car, there's no assistance. The money's all siphoned off to the politics and the leaders of our communities, so that way they can get bigger mansions, bigger boat. So unless you're actually living as a homeless person, I don't think that you have any leg to stand on to judge people who are living out on the streets. Because I've tried to find assistance and there is nothing. And once you're already kind of in that boat of survival, it's really hard to get out, to get enough money for the last month's rent, for security deposits, etc., furniture, because you can move into an apartment that's just an empty shell, and then what, you're still like camping in an apartment with no furniture, nothing. And with the job market, it's so stressful to even know if you're going to be able to afford it going forward. And so instead of squatting, for me, I feel so bad about staying in a place where I knew that possibly I couldn't afford it and letting other people down, potential roommates having to pick up the slack. So I kind of just stay away from it all, just with the economy being so up and down. And unless there's two incomes, I just don't see the long-term feasibility of an apartment, condo, or But the thing is, I try to always present myself as clean cut, at least, professionalism, speak well. I mean, I'm an educated person, so I have that going for me. And I definitely don't want to portray that I'm an actual person living on the streets. And it's not easy, and sometimes I wonder if, like the grocery stores I could go to every day, perhaps multiple times a day, because they have like a salad bar. Maybe they realize, or the people that I pick up on Uber and they've got skis and like, oh, I want to put this skier in the roof box because there's no other room. So if I open it and they see all my camping stuff, but someone who's vacationing and has abundance probably wouldn't understand the struggle and just think that I'm some kind of drugged out alcoholic loser. And that's the last thing that I want to be portrayed as. So I do all I can to hide it, is the end of the story. With my experience, I suppose, of being a homeless wanderer, is these states, especially like California, spend so much money on homelessness and drugs and whatnot. It just blows my mind that they don't have more RV parking spots where people can bring their RVs, or have credit options of financing a trailer or maybe a van of some kind to park in them. Because it's not like someone who is unhoused doesn't have a job. A lot of people do have jobs, but it's just that they don't pay enough to live in an actual home or an apartment, or maybe they're just down on their luck or something. They don't want to spend all their money on housing, which is definitely a viable thing these days. A lot of people don't have friends or family to have a system, and that's a big thing. People always say, well, you know, if one of my friends was homeless, we would be flying out, or their family should be flying out to help them. But for a lot of us, that's just not a viable option. And instead of spending so much money on who knows what, like some nonprofit that never makes it to the actual person that needs the assistance, it seems like just revamping the credit procedure of being able to maybe get a decent trailer to at least live in, and then places to park them. That would be such a low investment for the state, and have certain banks that are incentivized to maybe give out loans to people without physical addresses. Because once you fall into this trap of no address, no place where you've resided for the last couple years, no bank is going to give you a loan on any kind of RV or trailer or anything. And if those options were open, like for me, I could probably pretty easily handle an RV loan. I just can't get it because I don't just have that steady income, and a trailer really is a luxury item in the US. And so you have to have a lot of money just to be able to get that loan. And they give them out at 30 years, so they're really affordable. And then the second thing is being able to have a place to park it. A lot of RV spots now are $1,000 a month. So that's pretty expensive, and it's getting up there with the most rent. And so a cheaper place to put it. And then just have requirements of no alcohol, no drugs, no smoking, no loitering outside the property. And just give like a decent deal where it's not free, but you know, it's at least in the realms of working at a fast food place or in a grocery store. It's in the budget of someone making at or perhaps a little bit over the minimum wage. Someone needs to put in some effort to have housing and has to pay something. It can't be all completely free, and it shouldn't be on the streets and in public where everyone can see. Nor can it be like a system in Reno where they do have campus housing style places for homeless people. But right on the outskirts, you see people shooting up and doing drugs, and they still look filthy and not a place where you'd want to walk by. And so I think that would have to be highly patrolled as well, I suppose. It just stinks that there's so many freaking people who are homeless, and they just have this aura, and they don't give a shit about their environment, how they look on the outside, and trying to fit in with the community. And it just brings the whole thing down. But I kind of understand it also because the state doesn't give a shit about them. They're making money off of these homeless people. And so having them out probably in the open where they're seen helps out politicians, because then they just want more taxable income to then say, oh, we're battling homelessness or the war on drugs, where you kind of need to first get them off the streets, get them out of the sight of normal people, give them the options and ability to blend in with society. You kind of need to get people to that point of, hey, I do care now about my work and how I dress and how I look and my own health. And so the more people can think about, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to better my life, then the more that we and they and I, whoever, can assimilate into society and feel like you're contributing. But when you don't even care about contributing and there is no future, then you get these people just hanging out on the streets and living on the street and sleeping on the sidewalk because they don't care anymore. That's a declining society, and it's really too bad, because no one's born and grows up and thinks, I'm gonna sleep on the sidewalk. That's fine. That's a progression, and you don't just get there overnight. It's probably years in the making to where you no longer care. And I see people who are sleeping on the streets, and it's probably been years, maybe 5 years, to get that level where it's just hopeless and pointless. I'm sleeping on the streets, and the only joy I get is going to the gas station and buying some alcohol to kind of drown it out, the pain and suffering and just a wasted life level of depression. And I think that deep down, that's probably their thoughts, and we look at them as mentally ill. But just being on the streets for so long and being passed over has probably created the mental illness, and I imagine they could come back out of it, but it would just take support, and probably the community support, not the government, because that's been shown to be a failure on most accounts, because it's just taking in more tax dollars and maybe taxing some more wealthy people. But when I look at it, I just see, oh, you're going to do some more taxation on people and find some wealthy person. I don't give it 1 ounce of trust that money is going to go to where it needs to go. 0 at this point. And I hate to say it, but I hope that people out there are waking up that our government and our politicians are not to be trusted. And we should be doing everything we can to not pay taxes. When Trump said like he doesn't pay any taxes and he got money back because he filed bankruptcy in like some business, and that way he didn't have to pay taxes. You know what? Kudos to him. because the money he would have spent or paid in taxes, he might as well just keep it, and hopefully he gives it to charity or creates his own nonprofit fund to give to people in need. Because when it just goes to the federal government or our state government, it's just gonna go towards some jackass politician like Gavin Newsom to buy a $9 million mansion. And these people are such weasels, they don't care at all. We are the goyim, the cattle, and we aren't even worth the dirt that we walk upon. Only their friends and substituents, I suppose, because they want to be royalty, and we are merely the peasants. Not that I condone billionaires not paying taxes, of course. I think they should. And if some billionaire isn't paying their fair share, or I'm paying more in taxes than they are, then that's also a failed system and a total joke. But it's taken me a while to kind of get to the realization that there is just so much waste and fraudulent activity in America. But thank God that it's being brought to the surface and we can all see it now and at least have the ability to know what's happening. We've been living with our eyes covered for long enough. We've been taken advantage of for too many years, and the erosion has gone far too long. Our economy has just been eroded to the upper class, and they haven't been trickling it down. You know that whole theory where all this trickle down theory, where if someone gets super wealthy and they start a business, then they give jobs. You know, we know that's not happening anymore. The people who get really wealthy and build these huge businesses, they outsource all the jobs to India, or they get some visa holder to come in and do their job on salary, but work 12-hour days and 7 days a week. They work them to death, and that's our new form of slavery, is just through H-1B visas, while Americans are continually laid off, put on the back burner, and yet we're assumed that we need to carry the load of the whole country on our backs. I'm not saying to stop immigration, but they should be paid the same as an American, work the same schedules, have the same protections, and that way it's not beneficial for a corporation to bring in someone from India or wherever on a work visa and work them way harder and pay them less than an American worker. It should all be fair up front, so that way it's equal playing field. Because right now, because of American worker protections, it's not a fair application process. It's not a fair job market, because right now the Indian or the immigrant has a superiority, not that they're superior over, but they have an advantage over us because they will have to work harder just to maintain their place in that business, to maintain their visa status here. And they're incentivized to work harder, longer, and their wages go much further back home to take care of their families than it does here. And that's why they come alone without their families, because they can send the money back home and take care of their wife and kids while we're all stuck in the States. So when we make money, it stays in the country, and we can't take care of our family or our wives and kids at home. We need that dual income, but that puts us at a detriment to others, because we can't have the earning potential. And also, it's just harder to fire and get rid of an American citizen than someone from across the world. And if these people had the same rights as an American citizen, maybe then the corporations and big business and tech companies would look at an American and maybe someone from across the world on equal playing fields and think, you know, we kind of want to remain an American business. So maybe we'll hire the American and then we'll hire the person from overseas on a very specialty, like textile job, or it's just like this person just has more experience and they should have it. Rather than we can work this person harder, pay them less, and they'll be happy for it. And our degrees and everything is so expensive. Nothing is cheap for us. And it's time that we at least try to get rid of some of the fraud, and then I think that'll open up a lot of money for people who are homeless, those people trying to succeed. It'll help the people who are coming in as immigrants and help the American citizen all at the same time, and probably not cost us any extra money. And so I think just making an even playing field for everyone would substantially improve everyone's quality of life here in the States. And these poor people who are working in 7-Elevens, the Indians or the Sheiks or Middle Eastern people, whoever it is, perhaps then they won't have to work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever shift they have, 7 days a week, getting paid shekels for that work. That's just on a slavery level. Anyways, with that, I've been rambling enough. So see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully here in Tahoe, we're going back to warmer weather, and summer is around the corner, because waking up to snow and ice just doesn't put a smile on my face after a long winter. And I don't want to go back to Southern California and deal with my kindred homeless people. Maybe they're my people now. I don't see any way out of it. But at least I can blend in with society as a goal and focus on my own health, fitness, staying busy, and looking into the future with some sense of motivation and that better times are yet to come.